It looks wonky. Why does it look wonky? Oh, well, let's just roll with it. Just as a pre-warning, I may cringe quite a lot with this video. I'm perfectly fine making it. I'm comfortable to it, it's something I want to talk about, but just find it a little bit cringy, a little bit awkward to talk about still. Hey guys, it's Jamie, and for today's video, I recommend that you take a seat, get comfy, grab yourself a drink maybe, and some snacks, because today we are delving into my very vast and extensive dating history. All one people, one person, one individual, the one before the forever one, the one before Shaba. Yeah, I'm totally kidding about the extensive thing. This is a list so short it is made up of an entire one person, one people, one... It's not the only relationship I had prior to transitioning, it's like one of two. But it's the only one that's kind of notable and worth talking about in this context. But also, you know, nothing wrong with having a really long dating history, and nothing wrong with having a very short or completely non-existent dating history. Everybody's different. Anyway, let's dive straight in. Not that it's straight in, because I've already waffled. So yeah, in the context of this video, the only relationship kind of worth discussing is one that I had just before I realized I was trans, basically, and I was 16 in college, and it was with a girl. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because it just happened to coincide with like the time of my life when I was the most confused and the most uncomfortable with my body, with myself, my identity, everything, and it came just before I realized I was trans, and it kind of like, it did kind of have a helping hand in me figuring things out, sort of. So for all intents and purposes, because this happened before I came out as trans, before I even realised I was trans, and so I was still presenting as female, I was in a lesbian relationship. And that feels really weird to say. That feels very weird to say, oh my god. I kind of tend to avoid saying that in reference to myself. Yeah, I mean, the person I was with was female, I was living and presenting as female, so we were seen as a lesbian couple. Yeah. Not gonna lie, still weird. I don't think any amount of times I'm gonna say that is gonna feel less weird. It just sounds weird to me. Nothing wrong with being a lesbian, nothing wrong with being in a lesbian relationship, but just for me talking about myself, it feels weird. Yes, sorry about this. I told you this was gonna be awkward and cringy. So basically I started kind of like identifying or like getting referred to and being seen as a lesbian when I was around 16. This all happened very quickly. 16 was like a very pivotal year in my life, and that label just never sat right with me. I would tell people that I was like attracted to girls, and people would then kind of like, you know, go, oh, you're a lesbian then, type thing. And it's just like, yes. But I really didn't like it. I would never come out to somebody as a lesbian. It was always like just who I was attracted to, and then people would then refer to me as a lesbian, which I hated so much. So then being in a relationship that was viewed as a lesbian relationship kind of took that one step further, and I felt even more uncomfortable about that than just people referring to me as a lesbian or being seen as one. It wasn't just social things that made me feel uncomfortable, it kind of brought to the forefront a lot of like internal discomfort that I felt about myself and my identity and my body and just everything. And I still had no idea what was going on. I just had all these feelings. I had all the feels that weren't good, and I didn't know why. Something I just want to point out is that none of what I'm talking about here are the reasons why the relationship didn't work. Obviously it did not help, but it just didn't work out because of who we were and who the other person was. She was perfectly lovely, so like nothing bad on her. This isn't because she was like a horrible person or anything. It just didn't work. But yeah, at that time I was already so kind of confused about myself and uncomfortable with the way people saw me, that adding a kind of relationship element and being close with somebody on more than just a friendship level and other people seeing that made it even worse and kind of amplified these feelings that I had. Essentially, I knew I was attracted to girls, but I hated being referred to as a girl, but I didn't know why I had this extreme just like dislike towards it. But because I liked girls and I was seen as a girl, I was labelled as a lesbian. So all these things like together just were very confusing for me, and I did not know why. Did not know why whatsoever. Yeah, again, nothing wrong with being a lesbian, just wasn't right for me. And then I think another big element of it was like, obviously being in a relationship with somebody is very different to being friends with somebody. There are different things that go on and kind of different expectations, and it's just a different thing. So it was having somebody find me attractive as a girl and want to be in a relationship with me based on that. But then me just kind of internally screaming over the whole thing and being confused. And then obviously like there is a physical side to a lot of relationships. Not every relationship. I just wanted to avoid all of it. Anything other than kissing made me feel just ugh. And so I avoided it and I didn't go there. And I think that was the hardest thing about being in a relationship. It didn't just amplify kind of like the general discomfort I felt and like the social discomfort as well, but also the physical discomfort I had with my body, because having somebody find me attractive based on this body that I hated, and somebody like potentially like wanting to see my body, just made me feel the most uncomfortable I've ever felt in my life. And it made me feel really weird because I was like, I'm 16, I'm in a relationship, I feel like I should want to do these things with the person I'm in a relationship with, and I should be like into it because they're into it, but I wasn't and I didn't want to go there. And it's because of like an internal discomfort I had with myself. I didn't want to pay attention to my body, let alone have anybody else see it. And yeah, I don't really know how else to describe this. I'm really sorry, I feel like I'm waffling. I legit thought this was gonna be like a 3-minute video. Like I didn't really think there was much to say, and I have just waffled. I seem to be very good at waffling. I hope you guys like my waffle. No, that just sounded wrong. Shut up. Okay, but yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. I just felt like I wasn't being myself. This person liked me for something that I didn't like and I hated and I felt really uncomfortable about, and I didn't know a way out of that situation. I didn't know I could do anything about it. It was a really confusing time because I felt like this was always just the way it was going to be. I thought there was something wrong with me, like that I wasn't interested in certain things, or that I felt this way about myself, you know, because I was like, everyone's telling me I'm a girl and I'm attracted to girls, so why do I feel so uncomfortable and like hate this label so much when I don't see anything wrong with it for other people? But it just felt so wrong for me. But at the same time as being seriously confusing and just a mind fudge, I think it kind of helped me figure things out. It certainly made me stop ignoring the dislike I had towards my body and like my physical appearance, and kind of that, along with then later, like a little bit after the relationship ended, figuring out that people were trans and being like, oh my god, and then kind of coupling that with how I'd felt in that relationship. It did help the kind of, I don't want to say narrative, that just feels a bit too formal, but it did help with that whole kind of self-discovery thing. It all worked out in the end. That had to happen for me to get here, if that makes sense. Anyway, this has been a very strange video to make. I have talked way more than I thought I would, and I'm still talking, and it's because I feel a little bit nervous about this and a little bit awkward and very cringy on it. I just keep talking and talking and talking, and I'm still doing it. Stop it. I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope this has been useful. Yeah, and just as a few like tips of advice, there's nothing wrong with being lesbian. There's nothing wrong with you if you don't want to be physical with somebody in a relationship. There is nothing wrong with not wanting to be in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable with your body and who you are. It's all like just a process of self-discovery and allowing yourself to figure things out and be who you are, and learning what it is that makes you comfortable and learning who you are as well. And for me, everything just came together to mean I'm where I am today, and the relationship that I just talked about was an aspect of that, which is why I made a video on it. Ta-da! So yeah, I hope it actually seemed like this video had a point. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. Much love, I'll see you next time. Bye! That made me sweat. I am sweating. It is hot outside, but I wasn't sweating before I started making this video.